Dude, I'm glad that we're doing this.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for your time, and I'm super glad. I was texting you the other day, and wasn't thinking that I'd be in Reno for the third time in a row in the last 5 months.
Yeah, this is awesome, dude. We should do this more often.
I know, I love it, man. So, tell me a little bit about the event, Forward event. You just had the big event of the year.
So we had 750 people from all around the country come out to Vegas. It was amazing. We had, Gary Vee, Ed Mylett, all these great speakers. But what the best part about it was really about the networking. So there was a lot of leaders in the industry there, like Brian Covey, people who are, at the top level in the mortgage space, Julie Johnson, all these types of, loan officers, real estate leaders. Like there was a guy who manages one of the top teams of EXP there. And he brought all his people, Kenny Fast. We just did a call today. So there's all these leaders and their agents, and all the common thing was like, we want to grow our business. We want to use this time right now to really separate from the competition. We want to, invest in ourselves and our business. And when you're around all these people who are kind of thinking just like you, the relationships, the conversations are better, like all that stuff. So it was the content from the stage was amazing, but then also I just saw all this networking going around. After the event, before the event, I would go down to the bar. People are having conversations like, yo, what CRM you use? Or what do you do in your process? And then they were helping each other. And that's what it's about too, is like, you can learn a lot from the stage, but you can also learn a lot from the guy sitting two seats down from you.
Yeah, man. I think it's so cliche that we forget that, you are the people that you surround yourself with. And the way that I like to think of it is, think about the top 5 people that you're with every single day, whether it's your coworkers, your family, just friends, right? And a lot of the times people can get really comfortable because if you're looking at, being the person that makes the most money in your group, at the end of the day, you're just an average of what everybody's income is in that top 5. If you're the fittest person in your top 5, you're probably not not necessarily as fit as you think, because you're an average of the least fit person on that. So that's what, even though I didn't get a chance to go to the event because of a prior, commitment I already had, I'm so glad I'm getting to be a part of that mastermind group that you put together, because, my mindset is every single time is like, how can I be like the smallest person in that group, so those other people are automatically going to elevate me. So I'm just super thankful that you're doing these events, and then we're getting to meet all these awesome people, that you're able to also exchange ideas. And it's a lot easier to do that with an LO that is across the country, that's your competition, but not necessarily your competition, rather than that's why so many people are closed off of, like, they don't go and to their competitor's door and trade
honestly
ideas.
There's enough business for everybody anyways.
Nobody understands
but they don't
though.
think that like that. And so you just think about, if you are hanging out with people who are, right now, this is super important, if you're hanging out with people who are negative on the market, they're like, this is we're in for a rough season, and this is gonna suck, and this is happening negative, this is negative, rates are too high, sellers are asking for too much, being unreasonable, like all these things which are true, but you're only focusing on the negative and not the positive. Like, hey, you could buy a property for 50, 60K less than you would have paid before. Now you can negotiate concessions. Now the property needs work. You could get that built into your deal. We could buy down your rate. Like, we can do all these things. And by the way, we're probably going to have an opportunity to refinance you. Like, think about the positive side. Yeah. And I remember a lot of the LOs will have, like, they'll get into that negative cycle. Like, man, dude, this is rough, and I don't know how this is going to work out, and maybe we've had it, dude. Maybe this is enough, and like, you get into that cycle, and you just got to stop that, because on the other side, there's a lot of good opportunity. And I remember this, dude. I started investing in my marketing in 2018. 2018 was a down year. Rates were in the 5%. Real estate and mortgage market was down. There was layoffs in 2018. That was a rough year for the industry. And that's when I started doing all this stuff, investing in self-development, my marketing. I started doing videos, and that laid the groundwork in that 1 year for the next up leg, which was 2019, 2020, 2021. Like, it set me up for huge success. So this business is all about peaks and valleys. And right now we're in a little bit of a valley, but it always turns around, bro. It's peaks and valleys, because nothing can go up in a straight line. So real estate is one of the best performing assets if you look at a longer term thing. And right now it's going to be a down year, but that's the time to invest in all this stuff. So it was cool to see all those people around there. It's cool to have people like that in the mastermind. And that's what I want to be focused on, is being around people And these are pretty much the only people I talk to now, are people who are positive and looking for opportunities. Because it sounds, kind of cliche, but it's life basically works out. Whatever you look for, you're going to find. Exactly. You want to look for negativity, you're going to find that shit everywhere. You're looking for opportunity, there's always an opportunity.
And what's crazy is that misery loves company, but whenever you're trying to be positive, it's like you have to sell people with the positiveness that you're trying to spread, right? Which it's insanity to me, really, because you would think that most people would be asking for positive people. But so you've been in the business now for how long?
So I got into the business 2003. So what is that? 18 years?
Almost next year will be 20 years, right?
20 years, yeah, 19, 20 years.
And then so 17 years into the business, or excuse me, 16 years into the business, that's when you started creating content.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning it was like, I just got in right before the market crashed. So 04, 05, 06, crazy years, making a lot of money. I was like a young kid in 20s. It was like a frat house, bro. Like my brother was running this office. It was like a boiler room. You ever see that movie?
I don't think I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So dude, it was it wasn't like any kind of crazy shit like that. Maybe a little bit, but more like it was just young kids making a lot of money in mortgages. And back then everybody qualified. It was free money. It was crazy. Then the market crashed. Everybody quit, went to get other jobs. That's why when people talk about like the current recession we're in, like this is fucking a cakewalk compared to back then. Dude, that was almost like a depression. There was nobody buying houses. Rates were going up. It was like the worst market ever. And even then, there was still opportunity. There was government loans. There was reverse mortgages. There were still people buying and selling. But everybody dispersed, left the industry. So we had this huge office, my brother and I, with 30 people in there. Everybody's gone. The company we worked for filed bankruptcy. We had to switch to another bank. And we basically subleased our office to like a HOA company. Mm-hmm. And we went into the back room, like one office. So you imagine like a big office. We just took one office, kept that for ourselves. Everything else was like rented out to other people just to get through. Yeah. And we just stayed with the business. So during that years, we worked on, new things, learning deals. We didn't really have a staff. So it was just me and him getting deals. And then every year after that, 08 was rough, 09 was rough. Then it started to turn around in 2010, 11, 12. And basically starting in 2010, every year was better than the last as far as growing the business, adding more people back. And we slowly built up a team again. And I just realized though, in like maybe 2016, 17, I was just burnt out. So I've been doing it post crash for like 7 years. Felt like I was running on like a treadmill. Like, you're like we were doing a lot of internet leads. Like we would buy leads from like internet companies and Zillow and Realtor.com and all that stuff. So we'd buy these leads, you'd call all the people, close a couple deals, get paid. Buy the leads, close the deals, get paid. And it was just a circle. And as soon as I stopped doing it, I would make zero money. So I was like, at some point, there's got to be some better way to do this business. Like, how do these big brands do it? How do people who are killing it do it? And I realized that they have what's called a personal brand. And before content, you would just have personal brand was your reputation with like people in your community and the realtors and stuff. But then there was people bigger than that had a reputation bigger than that, huge. And you could use the internet to do that. So I started learning how to put out videos. And dude, if you saw these videos, I can't even watch them, bro.
You need to do a Throwback Thursday one.
I don't even want to bring them up, but I couldn't like speak on camera very good. Just the topic selection was so bad. It was like, okay, my name is Neel with blah, blah, blah mortgage. And today I'm going to give you the 3 tips to fix your credit. And for a free credit report, call me. And it was so salesy. It was so dumb, but at least I was doing it. Yeah. So I started doing it. And then even with those bad videos just on Facebook that would get very little views, and Instagram, very little views, I would still get business. Like people would still be like, yo, dude, saw your videos. Like, I'd love to work with you. And so I was like, oh shit, this works even though I suck. Mm-hmm. So I started doing more of it. And then as I got better, got even more opportunities. And then about, 2 years into doing it, kind of like figured out my thing. So I was like, I'm a nerd. I like information. I can do this. I can be myself on camera. And now I started to do better. And then I saw this hockey stick growth. So I was able to build my personal brand, my audience, all my business followed. And I had huge opportunities. And then we hired a bunch more LOs. We built a bigger team. And so I used the content marketing to basically make me like my job again, but then also to grow my business because I was stuck at a ceiling in the mid 6 figures. I could never get over that ceiling without working harder. And there was no more working harder because I was already at my ceiling as far as hours in a day.
So when did you, from 2016 to 2018, when did you kind of develop, and what kind of made you realize the whole formula that you have now for the videos, as far as like you have to have a hook, you have to have a sub hook, you have to have a problem and a solution. So when did you come up with that?
So that was more like in the last couple of years as short form content took off. But in the beginning, it was just about putting out a video that people would find valuable.
Yeah.
So I just didn't understand. I thought you would run ads. So I'd be like, you know, we have this new loan program, or here's a new property for sale. If you're interested, call me, or fill out this lead form. And I realized that was advertising, which you can do video ads. They work great. But thing is that's not marketing. So marketing, I learned, was putting out information with no sales. It was just building your brand. And your brand would be, in my case, it would be Neel, the guy who knows about mortgage and real estate and finance. So I just started putting out the videos, but I didn't really have the structure of like hook, problem, solution yet. Then what happened was that was working, and I was doing it. And about 2020, late 2020, short form content started really getting popular. TikTok, because of TikTok. And then Instagram started rolling out, and then YouTube started rolling out. And what I found was the consumer was going to this barbell strategy, where like basically you think of a barbell. One side of it is short form, one side is long form. So it's not that people won't watch long videos, but they're just like selective. Yeah. So they either watch like really short content or they watch really long content. Because you go to Joe Rogan, watch a 3-hour podcast, but that same type of person doesn't have any attention span to watch my video on Instagram. So I figured out the formula for on short videos. How do you keep someone's attention? You could do it. If you're a chick, you could, show some skin, or sell yourself out for that. You could dance. You could, if you're a dude, maybe you could flex your pecs. I don't know. Yeah. Like people do this shit, but I was like, I can't do any of that. What do I got?
And that's the hook. That's the hook.
Right. I got knowledge. So my hook was, I'm going to share this knowledge. All I need to do is do it in a way that people will understand it. So the formula, or what I figured out along the way, which is what led to me being able to reach way more people, is take a topic that is very niche, like mortgage, real estate, or finance, and how do we make it appeal to broad people, and how do we make it simple for anybody to understand? Like even a child could understand it. And that's what's worked the best.
Yeah, because mortgage is such a complex subject that it makes it more attractive whenever you simplify it. That's one of the things that you've shared, that humans are attracted to simplicity but are repelled by confusion, and that's just such a simple quote, but it's just so powerful. One of the things that you talked about whenever you first started in the business, and then after the last recession that we went through, is so many people left the business. And you talked about peaks and valleys, and believe it or not, that's one of the things that I'm actually excited about, because with COVID and with historic low rates that we had just a couple of years ago, so many people came in and flooded the business and said, yes, I can be a lender, I can be a realtor, right? And then those people are just kind of taking up a lot of space, to where I'm hoping that we're able to see like the people that are climbing back up that next peak, that peak that we have, are going to be the people that are really supposed to be in this business, because we all know right now, I think that whole saying that 20% of the people are doing 80% of the business has now gone to 10% of the people are doing 90% of the business. Yeah.
So crazy. What's crazy is, you have people like myself, like you, we're busy. Now, it's not gangbusters like it was last year, but we're busy. Yeah. Like there's people calling. I remember we just had lunch. The realtor's calling you for pre-call. Somebody's in my message just saying, hey, I need to fix this deal. So there's deals out there, but it's flowing to the people who are trusted.
Exactly.
And that's that 10%. It used to be 20% because the market was bigger. Yeah. So now it's 10%. So what are the other 90% going to do? Well, you either have to figure out a way to get into that 10%, or you're going to struggle. So what happens is, like you just said, the data shows in the last 3 months ago, in the month of April, we hit a peak for the licensed number of realtors and loan originators nationally. So that was a never all-time record high in the history of real estate and mortgage. We have the most amount of people in this business, just as the market was shifting. So this year, there's going to be about half the number of transactions and mortgages as there was last year, because refis are gone and rates moved up. So if there's half the business, but we still have a record number, there's just not enough business. Yeah. So the business flows to the people who are in that top 10%. The other people are going to get second jobs, or they're going to be like, you know what? Easy money's been made in mortgage. I'm out. I don't want to do this. I don't really care about doing mortgages. I don't really care about home ownership. I was just trying to make money. So they'll leave, which is good for you and me, because now we're even more valued. So I think, dude, it has to happen in everything. Like there has to be peaks and valleys. So we'll just have a rough year for the industry, but you still get through it. And then you come on the other side and now people have left. Your brand's even stronger because you stuck with it. So I think this year is going to be super important for the next 18 months, I would say, are going to be very important for what we do in this business.
Yeah, and I feel that a lot of the times people think of peaks and valleys and just kind of dread thinking of it that way and looking at, life like that. But a lot of the times people forget that without those valleys, you don't really get to enjoy that peak as much, right? Yeah. And that's in everything in life. Like just, recently I went camping out in Colorado and dude, we were out there and there's not even water. You have to go and get water and purify the water before you can drink it. And how many times just in every day do we just take water for granted, right? Yeah. But it's not without that valley of having to go through that you're like, man, water is so, it's a pretty much like a blessing to have that pretty much. And then, but sometimes people, like if we would have stayed, if right now we were still in what we were the last year and the year before with all these refis and all this and that, like we would still be taking all that for granted. Like a realtor calls you, hey, can you send me a pre-qualification letter? You're like, yeah, sure. I'll get to it in the next couple of days. Rather than now, you're like, dude, I got to get to it like right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when do you think in your career that you've truly started investing in yourself as far as like, hey, I'm going to spend X amount of money to be able to grow more in my business or in my brand? Or like, when do you think that kind of hit you in your business?
So I was one of those people who like kind of always thought of like self-development and coaching and these things as like, it's a scam, whatever. Like these companies just making money off people. And there's probably some bad ones out there, but I didn't realize that it was actually how valuable it is to your business, like learning from other people. And so I would always want to figure it out myself, like just Google it. Cause I'm really resourceful in my business. Like if there's a way to do it, I want to learn. Yeah. And so it works really well for me. It also could be like Achilles heel when you're like, you don't need to learn everything yourself. Like what if there's a guy who knows how to do it already? And so what I found was in the last couple of years was I started to create relationships with people who know things that I don't know. And maybe I could help them with something too. Yeah. And then so I started doing that thing where, you reach out to people, start investing and see how you could help them. Then they help you. I would buy their products, their coaching, all these types of things, and then learn from every single person. And what happened there was I just realized at the end of the day, I'm buying time. So for me, the most important thing is time, because you could do a year of trial and error, or you could learn that same thing in a couple weeks or even a couple days, bro. Like that's the crazy part. You could be dicking around with something for 6 months, or we could figure it out in 2 days. If you just bought the time. So I just realized, yes, there's people out there that sell scams. Yeah. That's true. But there's also a lot of people out there who are really good at what they do and can teach you. And so you just do your due diligence on people. And then the good ones I would work with, figure out. And I realized that helped me go way faster because now I have the cheat code. And it's just like I can go fast.
That's so good because sometimes, people hear all the time like money can't buy happiness, right? But it can buy really nice things. And the nicest thing of them all is time. And this is such a great way to really think outside of the box, because sometimes even if you're like, I'm going to save my money and I'm okay with spending 6 months or a year to figure this out. Sometimes by having that help, not only can it save you time, but it can also make you make that solution that you could have came up by yourself way better than anything else that you could.
Yeah. And you were just talking about this. I had a question for you too, was like, you were in the business. There's a lot of people in the business who complain about like, they don't have time for that. And this fucking people's calling me for this and this is calling. And then your solution to that was you needed help. Yeah. And so you brought on people to help you on your team. So that makes you you initially take a hit because you have to pay these people. Yeah. But how's that worked out for you in the long run?
Oh, I mean, 100%. It's worked out, incredibly, because sometimes people, in my opinion, have a very small mindset. Yeah. And by that is, let's say that you're, I can pay you $1,000 to do, 10 deals a month, but it's like somebody else is telling you like, hey, I'll give you $2,000 for every deal. But sometimes the reality is that if you're only doing half, 2 or 3 deals over there, it doesn't make sense, even though you're getting paid more. But a lot of the times people have the opportunity to be able to give some of the stuff that they're making in order to create more time and in order for them to build, more business. And people don't realize that they think such like with the small mind as far as like, no, I have to hoard everything, and they don't realize it's kind of like, an example of having $100,000 and just putting it in your bank account that you're going to make 0.0001% in interest, rather than start investing in different things. Yeah, you're going to see your savings account start dipping, but it's making you money in other places. And people don't really think like that, to where, at that point, whenever I moved from working at the bank to where it was like, pulling teeth, even if I was like, I remember being like, hey, take a cut of my pay, I just need more help. And then now to be able to kind of control that, to be like, hey, I really need help over here, and I can do that, it's really, taking me to the next level.
So it's like you take a step back, but then now you get like 10 steps forward.
Exactly.
Because now you're able to help more people.
Exactly.
And not feel like your head's about to explode.
Yes, but people that have the opportunity to do that don't do it.
Yeah. And I don't know what you need the money for. That's what I was saying earlier. You asked, when did you start investing? So I would invest in stocks and crypto. And I was like, why am I not investing in my own business? So if you think about the number one investment right now, the stock market's shaky.
Yeah.
And we should stay invested for the long term. I do. I have 401k. I have all those kinds of things. Real estate is a great long-term investment. But a lot of people look for like these quick hits. Like crypto was super popular last year. Now it's not because it's down. People look for stocks and options. They want to make money now. But like it's not so easy, and most short-term people lose money in the market. It's like gambling. But what's the one gamble you could make where you could you have control over the return? It's yourself. So if I invest, 20, if I say, hey, I make $250,000, I'm gonna take 50 of that and invest in an assistant who can help me with X, Y, and Z. That's gonna allow me to go more. And I know now that I can go out and do more because now I have help. Now you're going to be more hungry. You're going to be more able to do stuff because she's helping you with that, or he's helping you with that. The other thing is now you have like, I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like I have like mouths to feed. Like I don't want these guys to be like sitting around waiting for shit. Like I want to make sure we bring in business. So I feel this obligation now when it's just you, like you're only accountable to you. Yeah. And a lot of people let themselves down. But what if you're accountable to like 3 people or 20 people eventually? Now you got to go out there and get business. You're like, I need to land this new builder. I need to get this new account. I need this new relationship. I'm going to really get after it because I don't want to be slow because I got these people.
Yeah. And, earlier you were saying that part of the reason why you kind of got into content creation was because you just needed a boost of the ceiling that you had hit. And, anybody out there that has been maybe on the borderline of maybe hiring some help, especially in this time right now where most companies are not hiring. Yeah. And it's like right now getting that extra help can put you at an advantage to be able to go out and get more business, but also it's going to be that one thing that can motivate you to go out and do that one more call, do that one more appointment, because you're like, hey, you know what? I have enough money in my savings that I don't have to work for X amount of time, but I know that I have to help that person. That person is relying on me. That puts a good motivation on your.
It's a good kind of pressure.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this guy speak, Jesse Itzler, who's an amazing like entrepreneur. He's founded and sold all these companies. His wife owns Spanx, which they just sold.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of his podcasts. He's awesome.
He's amazing. Yeah. Dude, this guy's a beast in the fitness world too. He talks about like insane
ultra
marathons and how he got through them and stuff. And he talked about this was like, he was talking about, just basically like how he bet on himself and how it turned out. And, he gave all these examples about like betting on me in this regard, putting some pressure on your shoulders. And he kept saying, dude, put some pressure on your shoulders. I was like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, put some pressure on your shoulders because then you're not going to fail. Dude, if I was like, hey, dude, help me lift this shit, you're not going to be like, lifting and then just drop it. Yeah. You're gonna try harder because like you got some pressure on you. So I think people should put some pressure on themselves, even though you might feel like it's stressful. Like you're gonna rise to the occasion. Because his whole thing was, which is true, is people are capable of way more than they think.
Oh, absolutely.
With fitness, it works with business, it works with everything in your marriage, your kids, everything. You're capable of way more, and you just give yourself an out. You're like, dude, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
don't have time for that.
He did a book and then did what was it, like a week or something with David Goggins.
Yeah,
and
that's brutal.
I've read David Goggins' book, and he talks about how the reason he's able to push himself so hard and so far beyond what people think is, you know, the limit, is because he's like, whenever you think that you're at your peak, he's like, you're only at 30% of your max. So anytime that I've, you know, done anything and I'm just like, man, I've given it my all, and it's like, no, I got 70% in the tank left. And it just shows you how powerful your mind is. And so many people take it for granted in fitness and business and everything. So talking about Jesse, you know, he does a lot of crazy stuff as far as like the ultra marathons, and then just living with the monks, like just random stuff that like kind of really, in my opinion, probably makes him who he is and even a better, you know, person overall. What is something that that you think that you do outside of mortgages and content creation that you think that like, hey, I like to do this, whether it's just a hobby or I like to do this just to kind of push myself because I know it's going to make me better at what I'm already good
for
at.
me, it's just knowledge. So like people have hobbies, maybe they're into like this or that. I have like some stuff I used to do but in the past, but my main hobby and what I found kind of gives me the most motivation, is most fun, is just the sport of business, entrepreneurship, learning, like advertising, marketing, all these things. To me, it's like a big game, and I want to learn the game. I want to learn from the best players. I want to get better at the game, and that's what's fun for me. Is like, hey, if I have some downtime on a weekend, I'm reading a book, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm learning from people who are better than me or at the places I want to go to, and that's what's really interesting and inspires me to do more. Is like, you got time. Like people have time to do stuff. And whenever somebody's like, I don't have time for that, I'm like, it's just not important to you. You're not making the time, because there's plenty of time if you really think about it. Like yesterday I did a vlog of my day, and you know, it's not perfect, but I'm telling you, like I think it was 15 hours from morning till the end of the day. We were doing something valuable throughout that entire time. And then I had a little bit of time with my family at the end, and that's not every day. You know, you can't keep that up every day, but it just shows you, like, if you really wanted to, there's plenty of fucking time to get shit done and to learn more. It's just, do you want it? And that's the biggest difference between people who win and the people who just kind of get stuck, is like, you just want it more. Like how many times you talk about like people in sport where, dude, like it doesn't even matter about the skill level anymore. It's just like, how much do you want to win?
Yeah.
Like in boxing, that's the case.
Yeah.
People just give up. Like the one dude's more skilled than the other, but he just gave up.
Well, that's the one thing that we have in common with all these people, like, you know, Elon Musk and all these, you know, professional athletes, Tiger Woods, like all these big names that we hear just about every day, every single week. And it's like, how did they get there? And it's like, well, if you try to, you know, bring it all the way down to is what do I have in common with that person?
Yeah.
We all have the same exact time.
And then what do you talk about, like guys like athletes? We give them a pass, but entrepreneurship, it's bad. So you got Kobe Bryant, for example. I mean, the guy always talked about how much extra work he put in.
Yeah.
And that extra work on a one day off wasn't much, but it added up because it's every day.
Yeah.
And then he called it separation.
Yeah.
Because he's working 2, 3 more, 4 more hours than the other guys. And then over a period of a year, he's created this huge gap between him and the competition. And that's why he's the best. So we put guys like that on a pedestal. Well, I bet you that guy during that period of time probably didn't have the best work-life balance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, honestly, right? But we still idolize him. But then the guy in entrepreneurship, dude, people don't realize, like leaders in business or people who are successful in business, that's just like sport. They had to sacrifice, put in the time and learn and put in the work. And like we say, oh, those guys, you know, they're just workaholics. And we kind of put them down sometimes, like from a society thing. So I think like you can go through different seasons of like maybe this period of time you do work 15 hours. But then now it gives you the ability next year to not work that much and have a way better quality of your business.
Yeah.
But everyone just like avoids that one season. And it's just like peaks and valleys. Again, same thing. Like not everything is going to be the same way as always. You may have to put in some work initially, but that's going to set you up for success later.
They avoid it because it's hard to see it, because all that stuff is done behind closed doors. Because like, think about it this way. You just did this event, you know, a couple weekends ago, and people, see your face up there, see you up there talking on stage, see you talking to all these, speakers. And then they're like, man, what he's doing is incredible, but I could never do that.
Or they might say, I want to do that. But how? Yeah.
Oh, and then they ask you,
Yeah.
hey, how did you get this whole thing started? And you say, hey, I just started doing videos. And then they look at your videos now, and then they're like, oh, there's no way that my video would look like that if I started doing that. And then what you said at the beginning of this conversation is like, dude, I remember whenever I started doing those videos, and it's like one of the worst things that I've ever done. But what did you do is you kept that consistency going.
Yeah.
And then you got better at it.
Yeah. Same thing with the event. I started this off, like people are like, yo, how did you get to here? I want to do an event like this. This would be dope. And I'm like you just said, what happened behind closed doors? Well, what happened behind closed doors was nobody saw the event I did where, it was half the amount or was it 1/10 the amount of people.
75 to 750.
And like very few people saw that. But that was, even then I was like, this is dope. It doesn't get any better than this. I got Tom Ferry, I got this guy. This was amazing. And I didn't even think that was possible, but it did it. Now, previous to that, nobody saw the class I did with 20, 30 agents. Nobody saw before that the one that 12 people showed up to. Nobody saw the one before that where I sucked and I couldn't even tell people I was so bad at presenting, where I was stuttering and my mouth goes dry and I suck at it. And then nobody saw the one where I literally posted, I'm doing this class, and nobody showed up. Literally nobody showed up. Or I remember we would get a fill-in. So I would call a homie who's a realtor and be like, hey dude, if nobody comes to my class, can you come just so the room's not empty? Mm-hmm. And they didn't see that. And people would come out and support me at that time just because I didn't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
But that's the shit I had to go through to get to the stage. So the funny thing about that is, even when I was doing a class with 12 realtors or 12 loan officers or whatever, even if it was a first time buyer thing, I would put the same energy into it. I would be like, yo, I need to get my presentation out. How are we going to make this work better? Maybe we should have some music on when they come in, trying to make the experience better.
Yeah.
And what happens is if you put that same energy into getting better, your shit just gets better.
Yeah.
And then those rooms, which were empty, led to this one room 3-4 years later, which had 750 people there who paid to be there and flew from all around the country to be there.
Yeah.
But this shit doesn't happen on its own.
Overnight.
It takes time.
Everybody wants that easy way to success, to results, right? And they just want, I guarantee, I would say over half of the people that were at that event, they just want what can I get from this event that's going to take me to the next level? But we don't need any more information. We just need more action.
Yeah.
Right? And then so many people think they can hear what you're saying, but they're like, well, what do I do?
That's cool. It happens all the time. And the one problem also that I saw is everybody wants the end result, but they're not interested in the work. So here's the thing. I had no freaking idea, no clue that doing all these small ones would lead to this big one. It just kind of slowly progressed.
Yeah.
But let's just say, for example, my goal was to do this huge event. Maybe I would have got deterred at those 12 person ones where no one showed.
Yeah.
I would have been like, dude, fuck this. This sucks, man. I don't even know how this worked. Maybe it's not for me. I suck at this. I'm not going to do it. But the thing was, I didn't focus on the end. I just focused on what's in front of me right now. And my thing that's in front of me right now is I got to put on the best class I can do for my local market. And so I focused on 12, which led to 24, which led to 50. Eventually I was doing a 90 or 100 person class, local market people. And so that's where dude, if you're focused on that and you actually enjoy that, then you can get to the big one. But if you hate this because it's not as big as this, you're just going to give up. Same thing with working out too, probably.
I think so many people hate it because going back to peaks and valleys is because if you're truly climbing a mountain and you're seeing that peak the entire time, it's a lot
daunting.
Harder to be able to just take the next step and be able to keep going because you're like, dude, I'm already dehydrated. I'm already tired. How in the world am I ever going to do that forward event that's all the way at the top? But with you, like you said, it's dude, I was just looking at, can I take one more step? Can I take one more step? And then even if that one more step you trip, 12 people, 12 person class, nobody shows up. It's okay, I stumbled, but I got to take that one more step. And before you know it, you're at this forward event. But all people are seeing is you at the peak.
Yeah,
that's all
they don't
seeing.
See the rest of the mountain.
If I could tell anybody as far as people that are trying to find the shortcut to success, if there's any secret for success, it's just to get started.
Yeah, and look at just what's right in front of you. Don't look at the end result.
Exactly.
dude, there was a lot of fun along the way. That's what keeps you in the game too. So people right now with content, they'd be like, you post a video, if you don't get 10,000 views, you're like, oh, this sucked. You know, I failed. But dude, I remember being stoked to get 100, and then stoked to get, like in the beginning before short form content, it was very rare to post like a video as a small creator and get like 1,000 views. I remember getting my first video that got 1,000 views. I was like stoked for a week. I was so happy that like, dude, all my work's paying off, dude. I just got 1,000. Imagine 1,000 people. You see 750 people on there. Imagine 1,000 people here. And even if they only watched the first 30 seconds, still, I was like, dude, that's dope, because I just reached 1,000 people. I would have never been able to do that with calls or knocking on doors. So I was so excited. That makes you motivated to do the next one, which led to 2,000 views. Then, now this new thing comes out with short form content. Well, lucky for me, I'm already doing video. Yeah. So now I can take advantage of that. So you got to be in the game, just excited about what's coming up, not worried about like, I want to be an influencer or I want to be on that stage. Like, you can have those big goals, but we also have to get some motivation in the small day-to-day shit. Like, dude, let's just have a good day today. Like, fuck that. Like, let's just focus on that. And that's like the micro strategy, day to day.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we all struggle with is, comparing. And comparison is the thief of joy, just because the people right now that are in your classes and are just starting to do this, they can't find the joy in the first 1,000 or first 5,000 views that they get, because they're looking at people like you that are getting millions of views, or people like, other people that have been doing this for a while, and they're just like, how can I be happy about this, right? But a couple of things that you talked about is, one, not only do we have the same 24 hours in the day as anybody else that's been successful at anything out there, but all those people that have gotten to where they are, they've gotten there because of the momentum that has carried them on to the next thing and the next thing. And if we're so focused on what everybody else is doing, we're never going to catch momentum.
Yeah.
We're never going to catch momentum. And one of the things that I've realized in the last couple of years is what you just said, is you have to enjoy the journey throughout doing all of this, because at the end of the day, if even if I am looking at that peak and I'm just going all out, and then I get there and then I have a video that gets 5 million views,
you're not gonna be happy.
Yeah, because it's like, so what now? And it's like, you look back and it's like, dude, what if, now I look over here at you and you're like, dude, you were happier when you had 5,000 views than 5 million views, because you were enjoying the entire process. Yeah. And so many people, sometimes so many people forget that, really.
It's fun, dude, just to put out something and then people give you good feedback. So you just even a handful of people comment, that's dope. Getting some good feedback.
Man, thanks so much again for coming out, Neel. Or actually not coming out. I came out here to you, bro. Right. Come on, you got to come to Tulsa one of these days. But hey, I just have one last question for you. What's the best advice you've ever received that you could give to somebody else?
Damn, that's a hard one.
Come on, bro. We're wrapping it up.
Yeah, so it's so many different things, but I would just say, I guess if I'm going to give you two things, because it's the two things that stuck out most from this thing, because I've received so much advice from so many different people. I would say two things is, one, like we talked about earlier, what you look for, you're going to find. So we got to always be looking for opportunities. Sounds hokey, but it helps me every single day. And the second thing is like to set lower goals. So these big goals, like you talked about, that's what's deterring you from doing the thing day to day. Like, let's set some targets so we can get some satisfaction, because you know what Ed talked about, what all these leaders talk about is momentum. And once you got momentum, you keep going. So to get momentum, we need to hit some targets. So if my target is to get 1 million views, I'm going to be disappointed every freaking day. But if my target is to just make a video that people watch and I get 1,000 views, I'm going to start winning. Yeah. You know what winners do? They keep winning, bro. So that's the mental thing, where like, let's get some momentum. Let's start winning. And then that's going to get you the momentum to get to these huge goals that you eventually want.
That's so good, man. And that's something that I feel like has helped me out a lot, because when I look at other people that are asking me, how are you doing what you're doing? And they're setting goals that every single month they're disappointed because they're not getting the results.
But I see it in your content. You're winning, bro.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Well, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you.